our colleagues who perhaps may not understand what the fast is about. Why are we fasting? Why are we torturing ourselves, getting up in the morning till sunset without eating or drinking anything, you know? Yeah, so, it was kind of nice to be talking about these things. But at the same time, for Muslim, colleagues, this kind of bring a bit of change in the way we work, every day during the month of Ramadan. So, which means it kind of affect everybody directly or indirectly. You see, because the moment, for example, when people normally take their breaks, someone who's fasting would wait, for example, till the sunset to take their normal break to be able to pray and have time to break their fast and things like that. And obviously, managers would be expected to kind of accommodate that kind of those changes. But so that's something that and also the fact that we promote in this, CUH, we promote the idea of inclusion. We promote the idea of, understanding between, we all come from different background, different interest, different way of thinking, different faith, different ethnicities, and different cultures. So it kind of helps some point, even though it is just one small thing in the year, but it kind of help, bring people together to discuss things that matters to some section, some of our colleague at CUH. Yeah. So I think that's, we can bring a list of many reasons, but I think that I will stop there. So what is Ramadan? For us, for a Muslim, Ramadan is very, very important. Uh, it's the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, which is a lunar calendar. It's one of the, it's the holiest, if I may say, month of the year for Muslim. It is observed worldwide. It's a month where people, fast for 29 or 30 days. And it's a month of increased spirituality. It's a month of contemplation, of reflection, and also it's a month of togetherness. People coming together to pray, come together to share a meal, come together, to share the experiences and things like that. So it's a very, very important month for Muslim. Just before I continue, Wahab, if you have something to add, please feel free to kind of interject and add something. Yeah, yeah, okay,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
So Ramadan for Muslims is the most holiest month. Um, every moment of Ramadan is considered to be blessed. Every second, every minute, every hour, and every day of it. The daytime, the night time. And as the days pass, the holier it gets, the more blessed it becomes. Because in the last 10 days, there is a night which is known as the night of decree or the night of power. And this is a very special night. It holds its own merit, and Muslims will observe the last 10 nights religiously meaning that they'll stay awake till very late into the night, if not the entire night, um, praying and engaging in worship. Um, yeah, Ali, more than happy. You carry on.
yeah. So thank you, Wahab. So obviously, it's also a very, as Wahab just said, it's the holiest month, because also it's the month when the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So it's a very important. It carries a very big weight, much bigger weight, compared to other months. And also, obviously, it's one of the five pillars of Islam. So in Islam, we have five pillars, and those pillars, uh, how can I say, those pillars, Ramadan is one of them. Fasting during the month of Ramadan, it's very important. So you have those fast, those five pillars. You have uh, the testimony of faith. You have praying five times a day. You have giving to charity, we call it zakat. We have the month, fasting in the month of Ramadan, and you have going to pilgrimage to Hajj, to Makkah, when you can afford it. So Ramadan is one of them. So you can see that it is an obligation. It's not something that you can just say, I'm not, I don't feel good to, I don't want it today. Okay, I'm not going to do it. You have to have very, 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 valid reason not to do it. Particularly when you're a Muslim, you're an adult. You are able to do so. So you cannot just say, I'm not going to do it. So it is an obligation, and this is, you know, Ramadan. Obviously, we say it happened. The fasting happened during the month of Ramadan, which is the ninth of in the Islamic calendar, and it is done. It lasts 29 to 30 days, and the start and end of the fasting is dependent on the sighting of the moon, the crescent moon. So to start, we have to see the moon and confirm that the moon, the crescent was sighted somewhere, and to finish, also you have the same process as well. So, which means at some point you might ended up finding that some people, let's say for example this year, some people started the 11th and others started the 12th because of the sighting of the moon. So that's when the Ramadan start and ends. And there, as I said, you might find it different scenarios, but in the end, all those scenarios are rightly valid, because obviously the one of the main criteria is the sighting of the moon, you know, and obviously, scholars or the most well-known religious scholars in the country, they could meet and decide, okay, the moon was not seen today, but we can start today, or depending, at every country's way of doing things. So obviously, it will end with the celebration of the Eid. We call it Eid al-Fitr, which will be celebrated at the end of the month. Okay, so so that's, just say, when I say when it happens, obviously that's when it happened. As I just said, this year it started. Some of us started the 11th, but some started the 12th. That because of the sighting of the moon that creates that kind of a situation. So from one country to another, people might see the moon at different times. Yeah. So which is very, very important. So, as I said, the five pillars, Ramadan is one of the five pillars. I put this here so that, people can see the Shahada here. It means the testimony of faith, meaning that, you testify that there is no God worthy of worship but Allah, and Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a messenger of Allah. Allah is the term we use for God, the God. It's not like it's just for God. But when hear people say Allah, that means they are meaning the God. It's a word, an Arabic word that's neither feminine nor masculine. It doesn't have any because it's referred to the uniqueness of God. So you say Allah, that means it's the God, the one who is worth of worship. Yeah. Any question? Anything want to say, Vahab, for example? We want to say something? top of that?
No, I think you've covered everything in terms of the pillars.
Yeah.
So we have, there's a deeper meaning to the pillars. So the fundamental is the faith, is the testimony of faith. Thereafter, you look at your own spiritual development through Salah. It teaches you, we pray 5 times a day. And the reason, and not only just any time of the day, the specific times that we have to pray a certain and a specific prayer. So it's part of your self development, and as well as spirituality. Zakat is all about charity. So you're looking at the economic sort of situation, helping the less fortunate, those who are poor. Um, so, and Hajj, again, Hajj, this is a pilgrimage which actually brings all people from all backgrounds, all colors, all races together as one. It's like social, your social development, so not just your personal development, but understanding that in the eyes of God and Allah, each and every one of us are equal, irrespective of where we come from, what rank we hold in society. But this is that one place at that one time when everyone gathers together as equals. So it's an embodiment of life and how to live life in this world, really, as opposed to fasting itself. So, as Ali mentioned, that some they start their fast or started their fast on a Monday, others started their fast on a Tuesday, and that's largely down to the sighting of the moon, because the moon is what we are recommended to do, and what we are sort of supposed to be doing is to sight the moon with our naked eye, without the aid of um, technical, I guess, optics, etc., that we have in this day and age. Um, and it kind of is a historic thing that split the people. Nowadays, um, a lot of the people they follow Saudi Arabia because that's considered to be the holy country or the holy city, and they take their sighting from there. Others they follow their own local sighting, um, and there is scope for both at the moment. So it's about keeping that unity, as opposed to saying which one is right, which one is wrong. Um, there is some sort of flexibility in that regard as well. Ali, you want to carry on?
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Fahab. So why do Muslim fast in Ramadan? Okay. And I think, there are many benefits in fasting, but, the first reason we fast, as I said, it's one of the five pillars of Islam. Therefore, it is an obligation and a commitment upon all able, mature, and sane, people who are health Muslim to fast during the day time and during the daytime from dawn to sunset during the holy month of Ramadan. So it is an obligation, and there is many places in the Quran that kind of emphasize on that obligation. One of them is here. This is one of the a verse from the second chapter of the Quran. Say, "O you who believe, fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, that you may attain taqwa." Taqwa means as you may become mindful of God, become more conscious of God, and become more pious, become righteous. So this is one of the things that you expect, because as I mentioned earlier, during this fasting month, you have obviously the five obligatory prayers of the day, but you have people increase in faith, in prayers, in reading the Quran, in doing a lot more perhaps than we did previous month or previous time of the year. So which means that the more you do that, the more you become more conscious, more pious, and more mindful of the presence of God. And that's very, very important. But obviously, you have other benefit. As I say, be mindful of God. It can be achieved through an increase in prayers, in reading the Quran, giving, charity, and and many other things that you can do. So this month it's very important in terms of increasing spirituality, reflection, self-reflection, self-improvement. And obviously you find, even you find many Muslim, who don't even practice in their day-to-day, who don't practice, who don't pray. But when the month of Ramadan comes, they ended up fasting and praying, as well. Obviously, the advice, the recommendation was that they should be doing those things praying every day. But some people that month become more spiritual than they ever been, in the year or in their lives. You know, so Muslims aim to increase and enhance positive values such as generosity, patience, and forgiveness, with the intention that they strive to maintain these model values throughout the year. So this is something that was supposed to be like that. But obviously, during this month, there is a reminder. It's always this month it becomes up also as a reminder that you're supposed to be like this. You're supposed to be generous. You're supposed to be patient. You're supposed to be forgiving, and you have to you're expected to behave, nicely and be kind towards your fellow human beings. So this month kind of remind us all those things. But also another factor of the fasting, it allow us to understand the pain and suffering of many people around the world, who struggle to live day by day to make ends meet. People who live in hardship, people in poverty. So it's kind of it's a moment you reflect, but you don't just reflect on your own, but you reflect also everything that happening out there. Trying to be That's why we're trying to be as more charitable as possible, because you understand that you might be blessed, but some others are going through different kind of trials and tribulation, different tests, the different circumstances. So you have to be, to kind of bring you to be grounded, to be humble, to be, how can I say, to be grateful, to what you have. So it is also, one of the benefit. It brings you to reflect on those things a lot more. Yeah. So it also obviously, the way your relationship, the way you behave in, the what kind of relationship you have with your fellow man, your family, your surrounding, within this environment, how your relationship with your colleagues, for example, that's very important. So many people work out on their relationship, reflect also on their relationship as well during this month. So the fasting, as I mentioned earlier, it starts from dawn to sunset, and it involved abstaining from food, drink, or even smoking, even chewing, chewing gum, you know, and sexual activities is forbidden between the break of dawn to sunset. So Muslim at all time should already be avoiding inappropriate behavior, as I just mentioned. For example, lying or swearing or insulting people, disrespecting people, all those kind of behaviors. You are not supposed to be like that every time, not only during this month. But this month come to remind you of all those things that you should be. This is the way you should be. So, you're expected to carry on, be, thinking that way and behaving that way as well. You know. So obviously, once you break the fast, you are free to eat, all night. It's not like you're going to eat all night, but you are free to eat from the moment you break your fast to till the time there is a time in the night before the first prayer of the day, where you are allowed to eat up till that time. and that time change depending of the season and depending also where you are in the country. So up to a certain point, a certain time in the night, you're allowed to eat. But passing that time, you are not, from that time or onwards, you are not allowed to eat. So people can still eat and get up and eat. Those who can, get up and eat up to that time, and depending, as I said, depending of the season and also the local area, because obviously when we are in summer, that time becomes, that time very much earlier than when it's in winter, for example. Yeah. So yeah. So any question, any reflection, anything people want to say up to this point? No. Okay. So obviously, as you say, there are many reasons, people fast, but one of them, the first one, is it's an obligation. It's one of the five pillars of Islam. But within that fasting, you have to abide by certain principle. We already mentioned them. You develop patience and self-control, because to be able to fast, deprive yourself of certain things in the day. For example, you have to be able to be self-disciplined, to be able to be patient, because temptation is all around us. Even if you're alone at home, you still have the fridge full of food. You have food everywhere around you. So you have to be able to control yourself, to be self-disciplined. You have to be, to be more sympathetic. And I think we already mentioned that in one of the things that bring you, kind of grounded you, to be humble, to understand that there are people who are struggling more than I am, for example. So that I think that within that same framework, principle framework, we expect it to fast within that framework. Be generous, and it also, people use, it's healthy with your body. You cleanse your body and your mind. Your mind as you're reflecting during the whole month, and in the end, you might feel cleansed by the end of the month. Feel a bit, perhaps you start reflecting on your health and well-being as well, because that's also very important. But above everything else, it's an obligation. It is a God command. So we, in the end, we are just following God's command. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, everybody, able-bodied person who is reached puberty, you know, has has to fast. Okay, but obviously there are exceptions. People who are not well, they are not, they are not. That's obligation. They don't have to fulfill the obligation because they are not well. People who are elderly, pregnant women, for example, breastfeeding mothers, people who are traveling. Yeah. So you have all those exception. Children who have not reached puberty, so they are not allowed. They can fast, but it's not an obligation on them. Because I remember, and I'm sure Vahabu might have the same kind of story. When I was young, sometimes we force ourselves to think that we are grown up enough to fast. Sometimes the people, the adult, to try to force us to eat because we reach half day and we start to, feeling too tired and unable to do anything. But we are not, obliged to fast when we are not reached the age of puberty. And obviously, women who are going through their monthly, cycles, they are not, they are also exempt from fasting. Wahab, do you want to add anything on top of that as well? No?
No, I think
Yeah.
you've covered.
So yeah, so that's, in a nutshell, that's what Ramadan is. It's a very important time of the year. Obviously, I grew up in a Muslim country, so the culture there is a bit different. Is different. During the month, there is a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, despite the fact that people spend the whole day without eating or drinking anything, and despite the fact also it's too hot in some of those countries. But the energy is unbelievable. How much energy, is there? The atmosphere, the celebration. It's basically a month of celebration, but also obviously we cannot forget the spiritual side of it, because we're supposed to behave in certain ways, we're supposed to act in certain way. We have supposed to do certain things to be able to reach that God consciousness, that piety that we're expected to reach. Any question? Yeah, Alex.
This might be more a question for Vahab, but um, seeing as if Muslims are unwell, they aren't expected to fast. So in instances when we have patients on the wards who are too unwell to fast, do the chaplaincy offer services to help them still feel they can engage with Ramadan even if they're on the wards, for example?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the times we have patients who feel very guilty because it is that time of the year that they feel guilty that they are not able to fast, which is obligatory, generally speaking. And they underestimate the fact that they're unwell, that they're under medication, which is necessary for them, etc. And all they need in that time is assurance that you're excused. And that, and the beautiful thing about that is the fact that they're excused is not just a doctrine thing. It's not just because somebody said that. It's actually from Allah, that, from Allah Himself. That if you are unwell, you're excused from fast, and then you've got options after that, wherein they can make up for those fasts outside of Ramadan once they are better. However, if they have a terminal illness wherein they're not going to get better, then they can give per fast. They give what we call a sum of charity. Sort of, it's one of those things that gives them that feeling that, you know what, we've done what we could do, and if we could not fast, then we've done something in place of that fast. I hope that answers.
Just to add on top of that, uh, I know some people who would, even if they are in those, situation where circumstances where you're exempt, from fasting, but they feel guilty just eating, in front of people, if they eat it, they'll go and hide. But, they are not supposed to do that. They're supposed to eat when they cannot eat, because that's, if I understand very well, Wahab, that's what, Allah says. If you cannot, fast, don't fast. That means you can eat, you can drink, you can, but some people feel guilty, for not fasting and trying to kind of carry on as if they were fasting without, eating, which is, my understanding, my little knowledge is that they are not supposed to be doing that. But, only God knows, the rest of
That's a
it.
very important point because we have certain illnesses and certain things which are excused, which can physically be seen, which are tangible, which something that you can see. Okay, this person is unwell, and it's excused. But then there are others. We may have colleagues, and especially women colleagues, nurses, doctors, etc., who may be on the menstruation, the monthly cycle, for example, and they excused as well. Similarly, as what Ali covered, if there's somebody that is expecting and is working through their pregnancy, they're not obliged. Oh. So there's a lot of leniency in generally religion itself. There's a lot of leniency, and because it's a religion of understanding the situation, the circumstance you find yourself in. Technically speaking, I myself, I am excused from fasting today as well. The reason for that is because although I'm well, it's because I consider myself as a traveler. Because to qualify to be a traveler, to travel the distance of 48 miles, which is ultimately it's 3 days and 3 nights. It takes approximately 48 miles. So this is something I've researched, etc., and done by people, and it's approximately 48 miles. Now, where I live in London to Cambridge, Edinburgh, is approximately 56 miles. So technically, I am excused as well. But it doesn't necessarily mean if you're excused, then, take advantage of that. Because although our travel is very different to traveling on a desert, and traveling 48 hours in a village, in a hot country, from village to village, or in a desert area, it's exhausting. You will collapse more or less. And we have the comfort of obviously the AC and the heater, and then we've got our comfortable cars, and we commute from door to door without even realizing that it's been 48 miles. So it's all about understanding your situation, and then sort of embracing that situation.
Keep breaking up, perhaps. Alex, is that a legacy hand or is that a new one?
Just one more question from me.
Please go ahead.
So you mentioned that you can't drink water during the day. So my question is, how is that worked around if you have to take like tablets during the day, for example? How is that taken into account or worked around?
Again, that individual who needs to take medication will be excused. For that individual who needs to take tablets, is an individual that is excused, considered to be sick or ill.
But also, some people, I know there were, I think there is some kind of recommendation somewhere because you have many Muslim doctors, for example, who give recommendation. When you are in that situation, for example, you're trying to work around that. Instead of using, let's say, morning, if you have to take one pill a day, for example, instead of take it in the morning or during the day, you can take it, when you break your fast, for example, unless it's a matter of life and death. But if you can, people can work around that, like every other thing. Like as we start fasting, there are small changes here and there. People trying to kind of work around that because in reality, in many Muslim countries, many people take leave this time of the year. You see what I mean? You know, so which means they have all the time of the day to kind of relax and not worry. But here, obviously, you have to get up in the morning to go to work. You have to do a lot of other things. So you have to work around that. Even if you're taking medication, some people trying to think, okay, you have to plan on that. To make sure that because you eat during the night. Most of the thing you eat them during the night. And some medication, you take them when you eat. Some of them, they're not recommended to take, an empty stomach, for example. I'm not a scholar, but I'm just kind of trying to be a bit logical, but perhaps Wahab may be able to kind of enlighten us on that. Yeah.
I think you made a very pertinent point there. I think that's very balanced. Yeah, if the medication can be organized in a way wherein it can be taken dawn time, dusk time, with your pre-dawn sort of meal, as opposed to your normal breakfast time, then that's the guidance that would be given. So just take it in the time that you can actually really. But if it's medication which is taken after every few hours, every hour, for example, then in that situation, they'll fall under.
And obviously, your doctor can help on that because, the doctor, if you are going to fast, you have to also tell your doctor because they know better in terms of whether you can fast or not. They can tell you, no, you have to take this medication at a specific time of the day. Otherwise, you're going to create complication in your health, for example. You know, they have, they can recommend you on how to, or they can tell you that, okay, that's fine. You can start your medication when you break your fast as if it was the morning, for example, you see, and work, around that till the end of the fasting. But in either way, you still have to talk to your doctor because they are the one who prescribe you those medication, and they might be able to advise you on whether you can work around that or you just have to take them in those specific time. And obviously, some Muslim scholars might also have some other, some pieces of wisdom to give as well on top of the medical advice. Yeah. Yeah. Any question? No. Obviously, for us, we follow God's command, but it's also, as I said, the culture where I grew up. It's an exciting time. I don't know. You seem to see many people you don't normally see, in other time of the year. People seem to come out for whatever reason. Perhaps it's God's mystery. God's working His miracles. You seem to see many people during that month coming out. You see them at night. You could working at night as you just eat to go for relaxing, just for a walk or to relax and things like that. You seem to see people, but you would spend many times, many other months you wouldn't see people. But then, you have that kind of magic where people really, come out, and you have that kind of kindness that in the air, everybody behaving in a nicer way. It's kind of magical moment, you know. But at the same time, you can imagine that the Eid also, as we're fasting, we already start thinking about the Eid. People going, that the shopping spree start, at that time of the month. People going and buy the nicest clothes you can have. You will wear them during, on the Eid day. That's the way, many children, their clothes, their nicest clothes, they wear them during the Eid. And it's you go into a place, everybody wearing nice clothes, and it's amazing. It's magical, you know. Yeah. So yeah, so it's an exciting time. It's a despite, people might see that, what is exciting about not eating during the day, not drinking, that kind of things. But it is, I think perhaps it's just the habit itself, and then obviously it creates many things, and people don't immediately go to bed at 9 or 8, but because they just break their fast, so people are kind of go to bed a bit late, so the whole place is, buzz with energy, and people go walking around, and so it is amazing. Even if you go to places that, that very big places, like if you go to Dubai or in place like Saudi Arabia, many people come out at night. It's kind of a common thing, and you will see that at that time people having an ice cream as a family, going have a bite somewhere in the evening there. So you can imagine during the fasting of Ramadan, people go out more than perhaps other months. Yeah. Okay, any question? Any any thought, any reflection, you know? Yeah, that's basically, what, in sum, that's what Ramadan is. And I'm sure, as I said in the beginning, this is something that kind of affect all of us in a way, because some people adjust their ways of working every day, you know, try to kind of reflect, you know, and also obviously even I think there was a guide, guide for managers, which was circulated in the previous CUH bulletin, and it's also in the Connect intranet. So people can access that guide, particularly those who have line management responsibilities, and they will learn how to support staff who are fasting. So, which means, somehow some people might perhaps, those who work at night might start a bit late than usual, for example, break their fast and then start, it depending how, they organize themselves, managers and their staff organize themselves. So, it kind of affect people, everybody in a way, because of that, trying to adjust, without troubling, the whole, system. So, yeah. So that's, I think, one of the reasons that it was important to talk about this and people to understand what it is and what we do. But another thing that is very important is that sometimes I've been asked this question every year, you know, when people trying to have a cup of tea, and have a cup of coffee, to go and have their lunch in their desk, kind of things. People will ask me, you are, if I say I'm fasting, people try to stop doing their things, as normal. Please carry on and do, personally, as far as I'm concerned, that's part of the self-control, so as part of the not to let yourself go into those temptations, because everything is around you. You can never, even if you are on your own, you can still be tempted. So people shouldn't stop doing what they do. It's up to me. It's me who should be ensuring that I am disciplined enough not to let myself go into temptation. But that's my personal view. So I don't know if I have my thing the same, but that's what I think. So people continue as they normally do their things. This is not about disturbing people's routines. They can still carry on and have their cup of tea, cup of coffee, and we can still have the regular chat without the cup in our hands. That's you know, yeah. Okay, I think in on that note, if there is no question, so I would say perhaps we can we can conclude here and say thank you for coming. I hope you've learned something nice, something useful, you know. And yeah, that's all from me. And thank you, Lee. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, James. Thank you, Wahab, and everybody else who will be watching this video later on. Thank you very much. Okay. And you take care, everyone. And we'll see you sometime soon. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Bye.